Hello, everyone. My name is Joe. Today I'm joined by Cedia, Dominic, and Tyler to give you an overview of the Agile methodology for project management. Our objective is to provide an overview of Agile, its key features, benefits and drawbacks, and how it compares to other project management methodologies, using Spotify as an example of success. We chose Agile because of its widespread use in IT project management, and we were keen to get a better understanding of its inner workings and processes. We hope that by the end of our video, you will have a better understanding of the Agile methodology. Thanks for watching.
So the first thing you're going to want to understand about Agile is it has a few key characteristics. Now, there are lots of characteristics, but I've summed up the biggest ones. Now, first off, we have Scrum. Scrum is a framework where people can address complex adaptive problems. It's a very simple framework for effective collaboration. Next up, we have quality, which is testing, which is integrated throughout the life cycle of a project. As opposed to testing it all at once, you're testing it multiple times throughout the project. Next up, we have visibility, which is both creators and clients are actively involved in communicating so that expectations can be effectively managed. And next up, we have early identification and resolution of issues. Now, that's to say that small incremental releases of portions of the project throughout the life cycle help to highlight any issues sooner rather than later. Last up, we have predictable costs and schedule. Now, because each sprint, which is a fixed amount of time where one key feature is developed in a short amount of time, these are all fixed durations, so both cost and scheduling can be more readily understood from the beginning of the project. Now, next up, a lot of people are going to want to understand the main differences between Agile and other popular methods. Now, that is that Agile was developed for companies who are constantly changing the expectations of the project deliverable during the development phase of the project. So, it helps you see the future with more clarity and be able to plan and create your projects accordingly, so that even when the customer throws a curveball, it doesn't set you back in either time or budget. Now, let's take a project where you're coding software for a customer. Agile would break the deliverable down into smaller, usable segments of code and develop and test them in more manageable 2 or 4 week sprint cycles, for instance. Now, that way, if a curveball is thrown in part way, your entire project isn't on the line. Maybe just one cycle that can be fixed a lot quicker than the entire project. Now, more traditional waterfall project management leaves the project manager balancing the scope, cost, quality, personnel, reporting, risk, changes to the project, etc. Agile divides these into three main roles. So, first up, we have the product owner handles setting project goals. Makes sense, right? Handling the trade off of schedule versus scope, adapting to changing project requirements, and setting priorities for product features. And next up, we have the Scrum Master, and that person guides the team to prioritize their tasks and removes impediments to handling their tasks. Last, we have the team members who directly handle most of the task assignment. They're working on the project themselves, they're doing the progress report, quality control for the product during the product's life cycle.
Agile is a great framework for project management, but is not for every company. While large companies do use Agile, it's best when used by small to medium organizations. The company will need to provide the project team with a credible amount of access, and those clients must be willing and able to participate heavily. There are many benefits of using Agile. We find in this framework there is much less waste. Teams are able to quickly adapt and react to problems or defects that may emerge. They can then easily fix those defects and problems. There's not a lot of time between sprints, so the teams rarely get time to be stuck with meaningless work. And since the costs are low, the teams can experiment and try out new ideas. And there is a large community of Agile users to share the knowledge with. While there are a lot of good advantages using Agile, there are a few disadvantages as well. Documentation usually takes a back seat, so new members that are put on the project team have a hard time catching up. It's very difficult to see how much progress is made since project features are completed out of order. Agile does take more time and energy from the company you're working on the project with because it demands the interaction between the staff. And large features may not fit nicely within the sprint framework, and so those may be pushed to the back burner until they have to be done. And since the journey to the end of the project is very disjointed, it takes a lot of vision from the Scrum Master to get all those features lined up.
From its inception as a meager startup in 2008, Spotify has used the Agile methodology on all of its projects and has since become one of the most recognized music streaming platforms there is, even going against and outperforming industry giants like Apple, Google, and Amazon. For Spotify, its day-to-day product development is built on an agile model where there are groups that work autonomously within other groups, which can be broken down from guilds to chapters to tribes and finally into the smallest working group, which are called squads. Each squad owns a piece of the product that they're responsible for from start to finish, which allows them to deploy software every 3 weeks without affecting the work of other squads. While it would seem that this method would cause several problems across different groups, it rarely happens since tribes are made of several different squads that share information amongst each other, therefore eliminating dependencies early. A key factor in Spotify's success with using Agile is that it has made sure that it has an executive buy-in of the Agile practice across the company. This is important because many companies try and fail at fully implementing Agile, which can often be seen in the product operations versus development team relationship, as each business owner may have their own metrics and goals. Fortunately, Spotify has accounted for a similar relationship impediment by relinquishing the ownership of software deployment from the operations team when it was observed that the operations team had been significantly delaying releases, and then handing it over to the development team, ultimately streamlining their internal release process. With over 160 million daily active users and an average App Store rating above 4.5 with every release, it's safe to say that Spotify's use of the Agile methodology is a raging success. In an Agile environment, the role of a project manager is usually referred to as a Scrum Master. There are key differences between the standard waterfall project manager and an Agile Scrum Master, especially in terms of authority. In a typical waterfall environment, the project manager holds the central point of authority, whereas a Scrum Master is part of the project team in a facilitator capacity, meaning they have no authority over the project team. Scrum Masters in an Agile environment do not have ownership of key responsibilities like requirements gathering, assigning tasks, and managing stakeholders. These are now the duties of the project team and the product owner. In the Agile environment, the Scrum Master's main roles are to help the project team remove any obstacles that may hinder them from effectively collaborating as a fully functional, self-sufficient Agile team.